Welcome to Evolution. My name is Andre Lawrence, and this is my channel about electric cars from the perspective of a first-time EV owner. I've had my 2019 Kia Niro EV SX Touring, the top trim here in Canada, since May 2019. Now, as much as I love my car, there's one thing that I've always found a little odd, considering the price that I paid as compared to an Econobox that's about $15,000 to $20,000. Well, I managed to solve that problem with something that was found on the internet, actually suggested by one of my viewers. So I bought them. If you want to know what they are, how to install them, as well as what some of these other bits are under the hood, stick around, I'll let you know in 10 seconds. Just before I get to the unboxing of what I purchased for my Niro and show you what they are and how to install them, I wanted to answer some questions that I received on various Facebook groups that I'm part of, as well as some comments in the previous videos that I've made about what's under the hood of a 2019 and newer Kia Niro EV. Now, what I'm going to show you here will apply to the 2019 and newer Hyundai Kona Electric, as well as the Niro 2019 and up, as well as the 2020 Hyundai Ioniq Electric and Kia Soul EV. Something important that I wanted to mention about what's under the hood of these cars for 2020 model years and up is that the coolant is actually the color of windshield washer fluid. So the first thing I'm going to show you, and to be very clear, you don't want to put windshield washer fluid into the coolant reservoir because that would be really not good. Now essentially the windshield washer fluid is right here. Now it's this little cap that you pop up, you fill it, and you'll see when it comes up to the top, and that's all fine and dandy. But what about the coolant? Well, the coolant is actually this reservoir here. Now this reservoir in my car, as well as other 2019 that have this technology, is green and not the blue that's in the 2020 model years. And I was quite surprised when I saw a picture of a 2020 that it was really light blue. And I could see where somebody might get confused and try and put windshield washer fluid in it. So this is the coolant, and you can unscrew it. It takes quite a while. Put in extra coolant. There is a min and max level that's there, but I would consider having that done by the dealer. It's all under warranty anyways, and you turn until it clicks. So that covers windshield washer fluid and coolant. Now, what about this? Well, this is the brakes, the hydraulic fluid for the brakes, and you've got the 12-volt battery that's right here. Now, a lot of people are surprised that in an electric car there is a 12-volt battery, but the answer is quite simple. In an electric car, you've got a radio, a navigation unit, wipers and lights, and those are all still like every other car. They run on 12 volts. That's what that's for. So it's important to have that battery and make sure that it's always maintained at a proper level. Another component that I wanted to talk about was the heat pump. The heat pump actually has to do with the air conditioning and heating. Now, electric cars don't have gas engines that warm up to create heat in the winter to keep you warm. So there's something called resistive heating, which is essentially like an electric baseboard in a house that takes a lot of electricity to heat up the car. Now, considering it takes more power to heat with those, heat pumps are installed in more modern EVs because they consume less power to do the same job. Now, a heat pump will work till about to minus 10 degrees, depending on the model you've got, and will consume less power to heat the cabin. And I wanted to specify that the heat pump has nothing to do with the battery heater that some of these cars come equipped with, like mine, which has the winter package. Now, the winter mode or battery heater that's in this car has to do with the battery only. So when you activate winter mode and it gets cold enough and the battery heater has to kick in, it's a component in the cooling system, which is the coolant that I just talked about, that actually circulates liquid and heats up the battery. Now, that's a separate unit somewhere down there. And if you're wondering what's under the cover here and you want to see a little bit more of the guts that are in the car, let me just take off this cover and show you. Basically, the motor is down below, as well as the reduction gear, because electric motors spin really quickly. They reduce the speed of the gear with the reduction gears, kind of like a transmission. Then you've got the power inverter and all of that good stuff, and you'll notice that there are hoses going in and out of it, and that has to do with the coolant that circulates throughout the battery and motor and inverter to keep things cool when it's hot outside. So what about what I purchased for my car? Hood struts. Now let me show you what they look like and how to install them. I had a viewer recommend this product. Actually, it was somebody on one of the Facebook pages, and I decided to buy them because they were relatively cheap. I can't remember what I paid, but I'll stick an image here on the screen so you can see what I got, and I'll put a link to it in the description below. I received these a little bit earlier this week, and I've been looking forward to opening the box, but I figured that I would do the unboxing live without any editing and see if I'm happy or not, or if they're damaged, because the box is a little bit mangled. So let's find out. Well, rudimentary packaging. They don't appear to be bent. Let's find out by taking off the bubble wrap. Okay, so the first thing I see are some installation instructions, and the person who bought these told me they were not that great. Not a surprise, coming straight out of China and very inexpensive. There's a hardware bag. Let me show you what those look like here. It's the brackets and little nubs. We'll find out how it works after. And then the two struts. Let me get rid of this. Take out oh, that's surprising. This is nicely protected. It's got some sort of, I don't know, nylon, very robust material to keep them compressed. I'll show you that here. I opted to buy the black carbon fiber look. They have regular black. They also have blue and red. Now, the person who bought these before me told me that he bought blue, and they were a little more blue, light, harder blue than he would have preferred. And I decided to go with carbon fiber black because I thought that would be interesting looking. So how do you... Well, there is no way that I'm going to be able to untie that. So I'm expecting that when I cut this, they are going to extend completely. So let's see what happens. And there it is. So these are interesting. Xiangshang, to be safer, or to be better. And that's what they look like. Carbon fiber look. They're not real carbon fiber, but they've got this nice wrap on them. And the build looks to be quite good. The plastic tips seem nice. Now, they are impossible to compress, which is not surprising. No, these look pretty good. Let's see if the other one is also functional. And there it is, same thing. Now, they don't make any strange noises, they don't creak, but they're not installed in the car yet, so we'll find out about that later. And same thing, no damage, they are straight, they work. The plastic bits seem all right, the metal bit here is good. The hardware looks to be, well, looks to be of quality. Let's have a look at what's in this bag. Okay, so first things first, you've got a right and a left bracket. These mount under the hood in place of one of the bolts, I think, and that's where the top part mounts. I'm doing this based on what I've seen in pictures, so I'll find out when I look at the instructions. And you've got these which mount to the front of the car just above where the radiator is, and that's for the bottom portion. And then I've got replacement balls that go at the top here for some reason. I guess I'm gonna have to read the instructions, but so far, for the price, these are really, really nice, and it shouldn't take very long to install, so let me show you how to do that. Now that I've unpacked the struts and I've had a chance to look at the instructions very briefly, They're a little bit vague, but the general idea is quite simple. You need to install a little bracket on the top bolt that supports the hood, as well as one of the two bolts that are here. Now, I've got a third camera set up that I'm going to be moving around to show you things a little bit up close, but it is very simple to do. So let's do the first one and see how it goes. The tools that you're going to need are a socket wrench as well as an extension tool. You're going to need a 12mm deep socket as well as a 10mm deep socket. And for the last step, which is optional, but I'll show you why it's not really optional, a 10mm regular socket. Now, the two brackets that you get with the struts are left and right, and you can't invert them. They're very directional, so don't make the mistake. I'll show you what these look like up close. Essentially, these are the two brackets, and how to install them. The ball, that's this part here, has to be towards the front of the car, and I'll show you exactly what I mean right now. So I'm going to uninstall or remove this bolt here with the 12mm. Sure not to smack the car with the ratchet when it breaks loose. Now, you only want to undo one of these bolts, because if you undo both, you'll screw up the alignment for your hood. So that's very important not to do. Once you get towards the end, make sure you don't drop the bolt. Now, you take the first bracket, when you're reinstalling the bolt, make sure that you don't cross thread it. You want to start it by hand and get it snugged up against the metal bracket that you're installing. And let's see what that looks like now that it's installed. Okay. Right about there. So this is the new bracket, and this is the original bracket, and you want to make sure that it's not crooked. You want to make sure that it's snugged up against it, nice and flat. Then you tighten the bolt that's here, and you're done on that part. Let me do that now. Be sure to hold the bracket snug against the original hood bracket, and then torque it down. That's on pretty tight. Next, the front portion goes on one of two bolts. Now, you can see it in this camera a little bit. There are two bolts up here right in line with the washer fluid bottle, and you remove one of those two bolts. Now, it says okay for both. I'm going to go with the one that's further forward because that's what I've seen in pictures on the net. So this is a 10mm. I'll just switch out the socket and undo that. Now, this bolt comes with a washer and a lock nut on it, and it's going to be important to use the provided washer that comes with the stem that goes in place of this bolt. I'm just going to set that aside here and show you what I mean. So you get this ball socket tip that screws in place because that's the replacement nut, and there's a washer that comes with it. I'm hoping this is galvanized. I'm gonna probably go make sure I buy a real galvanized and replace it eventually. But for now, we're just gonna use what comes provided in the kit. We'll see what happens this winter, and if it's garbage, I'll just replace it in the spring. So, put that down there over the hole. And like they say, it goes right back in. Now, the reason I said you needed a 10mm deep socket is to be able to pass over the length of the ball to be able to screw this down. So it's a 12mm as opposed to a 10 with the ball head on it. And once again, I'm not going to over tighten. I'm just getting it snug, and then maybe an 1/8 to a 1/4 turn. That's done. Take the strut, Now the strut part, the carbon fiber, the black or blue or red, goes towards the top, and the ball socket just clips in to the ball that's on the new bracket that you've installed.
2 hours later.
Well, there is a little clip release thingy. I don't know if I should take that off to try and get that on. Now, right here, I don't know if you can see it on this, there's this little clip that goes around, and it's a pin that's there, and that's the retention pin. Now, what if I need to remove it to do the installation? Well, I got nothing to lose. I can't get it on. Ha! Look at that. Okay, so let me show you exactly what I just did up close. This little pin goes into the hole in the bottom here. I really hope you can see this. And it lines up to that other pin. And then it just rotates and clips into place. You push it all the way down. I'm not going to do that because I want to reinstall it right now. So let's do that. Much easier. Okay, live and learn. Don't do it the first way, do it the right way. Take out the retention pin. That's something the instructions fail to mention. And now it's not coming out because that pin is properly lined up. Interesting. Now let me show you what this looks like here. The end of this clips on to the ball right there. But as you can see, it's a little bit short. And that's because the hood is being propped up by the original hood stand. So I think the first thing to do is to install the upper bracket on the other side and then try and do those. So let's do that. Now, once again, I'm gonna pull that little retention clip downwards and uh-oh, don't drop it like I just did. That could have been pretty bad. Fortunately, I did it over the water tray, and that just goes there. Oh, great, the hole's on the other side. Okay, since I've never done this before, this will be a learning experience. I'm going to take the prop off of the hood and then lower it gently so that I can try and clip this first one on. If it doesn't clip on, I'm going to have to put the hood back on the original prop and then pull up this retention clip so that I can get it down onto the ball socket. So let's do that now. Oh, look at that. That actually works. Okay, so good news. It just clips on. There's no need to lift that original clip. It just slides right on. It's super easy. Lift the hood a little bit. Once it's lined up, just press down. That's it. Now earlier I mentioned that there was something that I don't think is optional, even though you could not do this next step. But that's the removal of the original arm. Now the reason that I'm telling you that it's not really optional is when this arm is down, the arm covers the cover to the washer fluid, and that means that you'd still be stuck pulling up on the arm every time you wanted to fill it with washer fluid. So it's just 2 bolts and a quick and easy removal, so I will be doing that. I don't think it makes sense to leave it on, so let me show you how to take that off right now. The bolts, and I'll show that to you here. are right beside the heat pump. If you don't have a heat pump, you're not going to have a problem, but this cover needs to come off first. So let me put my GoPro down. Now to lift the cover off, it's simple. They're just rubber stands, excuse me, that hold it in. Just pry it up and set it aside. Now that I've done that, let me grab this camera again, and you'll see that there are just 2 bolts, or 2 nuts bolts, we'll see what happens when I take them off, that are holding it in, and that's it. So those are 10 millimeter, and I'm going to use my extension. That's where the extension part comes in. Okay, so I take the extension on my socket, I use my 10 millimeter and undo. I'm probably going to go this way. Ah, it is a nut. Okay, so it's a rounded top nut. I don't know if you can see that, with a washer on it. So I'll end up putting that back on the actual the bolt that's under there. All right, so I'm just going to set this aside. And it's as simple as that. So now let's find out if it actually opens and closes properly once I get rid of some of this stuff that's under the hood. All right, well, let me give you a close-up look of these with this camera here. So that is fastened just like that. And goes up and attaches just like that. Now what I'm doing is I'm verifying for clearance of the little rubber stands as well as any other bits. Now it seems to be clearing everything quite nicely. And boy, do those work well. Look at that. So I'm gonna see if I can snap this shut completely. I just don't want to slam down hard on it. Those are fantastic, and they're actually quite quiet. They don't make a ton of noise. Let's see if I can actually close this completely now. That's fantastic. Perfect. I'll pop the hood, see what happens. That's brilliant. I love it. Okay, this is a success. And we'll see what happens over winter, if they start sagging or not. But so far, I think they're fantastic. Let me get back inside and wrap things up. So what are my preliminary thoughts and impressions on the Zhangshang hood struts for the Kia Niro EV? Well, I think they're amazing. First of all, they look great. The finish and the quality, the feel of them is actually surprisingly good considering the price is obscenely low, shipped in from China. And the installation, barring the instructions not mentioning the fact that I needed to remove the retaining pin from the top ball, because these instructions completely miss that. They don't even mention that there's a retaining pin. This is literally a 5 to 10 minute job, and it makes a huge difference. The hood, when I released the latch, I played with it a little bit after I cut that last segment, and it goes up and down flawlessly. There are no weird noises, there are no strange fitments. It really, really works well. So as an upgrade, for me, this was like, it's a no-brainer. If you like your Niro, you're gonna keep it for a few years, buy hood struts. If you pop the hood open to put windshield washer fluid, it's literally a one-finger thing. You unclip it, release the latch in front, tap it with your finger, and the hood goes up completely by itself, effortlessly. Now, one thing that I might consider changing now that I've played with it a little bit in between filming this and that last segment not long ago is the front strut retaining pins that are installed. I've installed them in the furthest forward because I was worried about how they fit when the hood was closed. Now, I looked at it up close, as you saw in that last video. I was like looking for clearances, and based on what I've seen, I could move them back to the second bolt that's closer to the driver dashboard stuff. And all that would do is make it so that the hood raises up a little higher when you pop it. So it's something I'll experiment with, and I'll probably do a follow-up in one of my future videos to let you know what I think. So that's it. If you like this video, please consider clicking on that subscribe button and clicking on the notification bell to make sure you find out when my videos come out, because I have a zero schedule. I post when I can. And if you don't want to miss those videos, then clicking that notification bell will make it so you don't miss them. And if you like this video, please consider clicking the thumbs up button, because that tells YouTube you like my videos. It also tells me you like my videos and makes me want to make more content. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions for future videos, please put them in the comment section below. And as always, thanks for watching.